Astro Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we were joined by Melty from the Resonance as we discussed Farina, our false Archon, and our poor mac and cheese loving baby. This week, we are heading back to the desert. This time to talk about Jeht and the Golden Slumber.
Are you feeling curious, adventurous? Well, take off that eye mask and sink into our lore holes over at our website, talesofteyvat.com, where you can find visuals for this episode that are fit for a Deshret singularity.
While you're on our site, check out our past episodes and seasons, artist spotlights from the community for every topic, and some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Just remember that there's now a murderous chalk boy looking at the mail.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say something bad, I'm not saying you're going to end up one of the improperly disposed human remains.
But you might.
You might. We'll talk about that in a second, though. You can also check us out on Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, Diet Pepsi, Diet Sunkiss, whatever you'd like, and check out our merch store as well. You can feel free to rate us, and you can feel free to rate us on any of your podcast listening platforms to let travelers know that we are not murderers here.
Well,
Maybe.
two of us.
I am not a murderer. Tiff tried to accuse me of murder the other day again.
Well, you sent me a very, unsettling photo. So what was I supposed to think? Brandon, she sent me a picture of the murderer himself, staring with his dead chalk eyes at me. It was totally like, oh, you're going to have a good Monday, or else.
D-E-A-D.
Did you look through my notes today? Because it's back. No. I sent Tiff a picture of Albedo smiling at the camera when he invites everyone in to eat spiders with him. No, to have dinner with him, and he makes everyone chairs and he's like, oh, friends, this is nice. That's the picture I sent. Not dead-eyed, not murderous.
I mean,
before we take a leap into the desert once more and talk about Jeht, I did want to break tradition here and talk about something current in the game. We normally don't talk about current game things and events and whatnot, and we stick to our lore. But I think for this podcast host, and therefore this podcast, we have some very interesting lore and information come our way based on this update that just launched last night from the live stream that we need to talk about for a second, in my opinion. And that is that during Windbloom, the most wonderful time of the year, Albedo apparently, supposedly, rumor has it, allegedly murdered people. And it seems that he also invited the Abyss Order in. And now he's on trial for murder and the improper disposal of human remains. And it looked like Kaya is his lawyer, which feeds so many AO3 headcanon dreams for me. And it seems like he's found guilty. And so this is second of my favorite characters that has been found guilty in a court of law for bad things.
I mean, I feel like you are so hyped for him to go bad that at this point you're going to be disappointed if he's not.
No, I don't want him to be bad. I've had too much trauma in my fandoms this week. If you're a 911 stan, you know what happens.
But don't you think this is just a clear setup for them to deal with Suspedo?
Yeah, I think so. As much as I have given Feens an enormous amount of shit for the past however long since the live stream came up, I really feel like my first thing was, I'm like, did we see his neck? I don't know if we saw his neck.
There are certain stills where you do see his neck in the live stream, and there's a diamond, but we also know that Suspedo can change now. At the end of the Suspedo event, we do see a diamond flick on and off of the neck. So there's, we didn't know if that was Suspedo or not, or if it's Albedo, but...
Mm-hmm.
Or just our eyes playing tricks on us, too.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a Suspedo. I really do. I mean, I might eat my words, but I feel like Albedo is such an important part of this story. But on the other hand, I mean, our sibling is bad, or supposedly, so bad might actually be good in the end. So
here's my prediction of the storyline. Suspedo kills people, frames Albedo, Albedo realizes what Susbedo is doing and sort of goes along with the trial. So it is Albedo on trial, gets found guilty with the help of Kaya, of course, because Kaya loves to do sneaky things.
Right.
And, you know, remember the manga where he's like in cahoots with D-Luke, who's like, you know, a criminal
Yeah.
at one point. And so then like they basically use this because they know that Susbedo is going to use the opportunity to try to infiltrate Albedo's life or do something shady. And so once Albedo's like sentenced to prison or whatever, then they're going to use that to lure Susbedo into a trap.
It's a trap.
And then, you know, Albedo will suddenly be like, surprise, I'm not in jail. And Kaya will be like, thanks to me.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this whole thing, though, is that it's really important lore that's going to get locked behind an event that is based off of lore already locked behind an event. So I don't know how like they canonically continue to explain this and when they're going to actually approach it.
Wait, is it an event or is it a Archon quest?
Well, it talks about Windbloom, so the assumption is that it's an event. It does have a name.
Oh, like it's tied into the Windbloom event, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's a Mondstadt on the cover of the release version, but they usually don't steer the Archon quest into a different region before the next number, right? Unless it's like in between.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see. It would be sad if they tie it behind an event, but at this point, everyone who's going to play Genshin has already played it.
That's not true. New people play every day.
I'm just kidding. No. I mean like new players. But even that's not true. I'm sure some people will start playing.
This says the Genshin Impact special program confirmed what the teaser suspected, which is that Windbloom Festival will return in 5.6. However, it won't be as a separate event as the part will involve Fontaine. Rather, that Archon quest involves Albedo and Traveler facing new challenges.
Oh, so it is our conquest.
So the event is Nouvelette getting stabbed.
Oh yeah, and they're in that new Fontaine character, the pastry chef.
Escoffier?
And it actually might have the stupidest hat in the game.
Oh,
And that says a lot.
Wow.
I do love that Kanichi is going to be in Fontaine. We'll be able to maybe talk about that.
I like the fact that everybody's moving around to different places. The thing we've wanted of everybody being in other nations. It made me very happy to see that.
Intermingling.
Except in Mondstadt, where they're all going to be in trial.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. But I'm very excited about all like the Admiral Akbar potential memes for it. It's a trap.
I saw this really great meme about the Mondstadt stuff, and it was like Venti talking about how he has to call the Hexen Circle, and it was like Venti's so confused he's got to call his court of lesbians for advice. But I wanted to make sure travelers knew that this is war, Hoyo. No, depending on what they do, it's war. So this is top of mind. This is, don't worry, guys. We'll update you on my feelings next time.
When our topic changes to Feens cries for an hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna Trisha Paytas on the floor. Or like every beauty influencer in like 2019 to 2021 who filmed like a my apology video, but it's just Amanda sobbing. Anyway, we're going into the desert today, not to talk about Albedo. So this is our 6th episode in the desert, and it is our first truly modern Sumeru Desert lore episode. I feel like, the Pari and Lillipar kind of cusped on modern day a little bit, but we talked more about like what happened in the past. Mm-hmm. This is all present day.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah, most of it. There's some stuff that happened like 20 years ago, Matt?
Yeah, 20-ish years ago.
This world quest of Golden Slumber introduced us to our queen, Jeht.
The character that should be playable. I think everybody who's played Golden Slumber has probably said that at some point, that Jeht should be a playable character.
Just so people understand, this is Jeht Part 1, where we're only going to talk about the Golden Slumber quest series for the most part. We'll do another episode on Jeht later to cover her whole storyline with the Tanit tribe.
Yeah, with Babel.
Where she meets Lillipar and deals with Babel and all of that fun stuff.
I hate Babel.
Babel.
Booby.
Babel, Babel, whatever.
Babel. I like Babel.
Babel.
My name is Babel. I'm going to call her Baby Bell.
I just called her Booby Babel, so...
Oh my god. I mean,
She's
it's
got
true.
some boobies.
On the villains playlist, her song is Man Eater by Nelly Furtado. I think it's accurate. But anyway, we're not talking about Babel Babble Boo Boo. We are talking about Jeht. So Jeht, definitely everyone wanted the playable character out of her, but everyone also wanted her to have a vision, which we talked a little bit last week about Rana in the Aranara quest getting a vision and Jeht not. And it is surprising.
Yeah, I think it'll happen eventually.
How much more does she have to go through?
You think we're going to go back to the desert? I mean, not us, because we know we're going to go back to the desert. You think the story is going to go back to the desert?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's an opportunity. I don't know if they'll actually do it, but it's an opportunity to, like, when the storyline revisits the desert, that she shows up as a playable character.
That's true.
They should make her like a 4-star so everyone can get her.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're gonna make her like the first 6-star, so no one gets her. Like 1 in 1,000 people will get.
Like,
Jeht.
oh, you wanted this? Now try and get it.
Now spend hundreds of dollars in the economy we're in.
I just feel like it'd be a smart move because we've already gone through 2 World Quest series with her. And so I feel like people are invested in her and they want to see her journey and her growth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the next step is give her a vision.
Plus, it's kind of, she is a little bit open-ended in the very end. And like you said, we'll talk about that in our next Jeht episode, but she could really show up anywhere.
She and Rana should meet up, both become playable characters, and then they have a storyline where they unite the forest and the desert.
All I heard there was Brandon would like some more lesbians.
Well, that. I mean, I don't know about Rana. Jeht actually is a lesbian, but
she is, yeah.
But I just think that'd be so fun because we see Rana get her vision in the forest. And then what if Jeht gets her vision? And then since they're like the younger generation, they can sort of like cut through the bullshit and do something to like unite the 2 sides.
Meanwhile, Tinyari, Sethos, and Sino are like, fuck, weren't we supposed to do that?
Yeah. Well, they can help, they'll be involved.
Yeah. They're like the elders helping, even though they're like 26 max. Yeah. I love that.
Since you just mentioned, though, that Jeht is a lesbian, is one of the very interesting things is that there are not that many, like people getting visions in the story itself. It doesn't happen very often that there's content that's actually different depending on the traveler that you are. But it actually is for Jeht. If you play as the female traveler, you get a more flirty content. If you're a male traveler, it's a little bit more like, plain
and dry.
Well, yeah, I know playing as Ether, one of the other tribe members is like sort of teasing her about like, all right, I know you're not interested in him. I know you're only into girls. And she's like, shut up, leave me alone.
She's like, you're right, but stop.
She's like, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends.
The other wonderful, amazing thing about Jeht is that she actually got White Day art. What was that, 2 years ago?
2024.
So for travelers who don't know, White Day is celebrated like a month after Valentine's Day. And it's basically like the holiday to give back to those that gave you a Valentine. And the idea is like you give gifts to those who have given you Valentines, which is like, I guess it's like nice because you're like, fuck, these people gave me chocolates and now I have to get them chocolates back. It's supposed to be mostly for men though, and it's a celebration usually happening in Japan and other East Asian regions like China, Taiwan, and other places too. So that's kind of where that comes from.
I don't know how big. Well, 2 things. One, I don't know how big this is, but I've actually always heard of it in America as Steak and a BJ Day.
Whoa, what?
As what?
Steak and a BJ.
Oh my God.
Is that the idea like a month after Valentine's Day, you return the favor by making them a steak and then giving them a blowjob?
Yep.
Thank you for explaining it, Amanda, because I was so lost.
I wanted to confirm in simpler terms. That's all. But that's so confusing because White Day is supposed to be like the men giving back.
Yeah, well, this is the women giving the gift to the men.
Oh, I guess Valentine's Day in the US is like...
Is for
it's more like
usually
yeah,
more
for
ladies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like this is my White Day art. My White Day today is because I get months after Valentine's Day to get your infamous Valentine's Day.
Valentine's. Listen.
Happy Valentine's.
It's the only thing I love about Valentine's Day is that Feens is going to say Valentine's. I love it. I do. I love it.
Listen, guys, I apparently have a lot wrong with me. And one of those things
It's not wrong. It's not wrong with you. It's
No, it is.
it's a quirk.
It just makes me think of 30 Rock every time.
I was in speech therapy for many years as a child, as a wee one. I couldn't say Feenster. They made me say fee fi fo Feenster in speech therapy. So I struggle with a lot of things. That's why like when I pronounce things, they're not always right. And I just can't fix some of them.
And really, you shouldn't. You're good.
I don't know, man. Valentine's, plethora.
Plethora.
What did I say 2 weeks ago too? Oh my God, it was in the podcast. You said it was normalcy. Not that.
Instead of normalcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know what's wrong, guys. But
I have told this story before, but I was very much embarrassed by I got a callback for a play when I was in college, when I was a freshman in college, and I had to have a cold read, and I said human being instead of being. And the director literally stopped to make fun of me for that. And
he
then
was like, I'll show you where a human being is.
Oh, like I ain't getting this part.
Yeah, but you shouldn't feel bad with pronunciation problems. Now, if you just don't know the way something should be said, that's when I'm going to be like, it's actually this.
Mm-hmm.
But don't feel bad about it.
I will say for travelers, a lot of my edits are like me being like Fanui and then Brandon being like Feeny. And I'm like, Feeny.
Archipelago.
Can you imagine if you had said
You said your name wrong.
That's why I was in speech therapy. I couldn't say F's. I really couldn't.
I couldn't say S's.
Yeah, I would say shit instead of sit all the time. But I kind of feel like that might have been like subconsciously on purpose.
I just had a little stutter.
Oh, see, I had a calcium buildup in my lip, and I had to have it like surgically removed as a kid. And so like I had to relearn like how to talk without this bump, but it came back, so it's fine.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, if you ever look at my top lip really closely, like you would, like you were thinking of kissing it, like you would read in like an AO3 fanfic, you'll notice that it's lopsided.
I had a speech impediment too when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called having a gay voice in Oklahoma.
Oh, no. And now we all have a podcast where people have to listen to everything.
One of my favorite things that Brandon has ever said to me, just your dry sense of humor is the best thing ever. And we were talking about sports or whatever, and you said to me as like completely as if this was factual, you're like, well, I didn't really do well in sports because of my limp wrist. And I just went, who's your wrist? And then it was like I couldn't stop laughing for like an hour. I mean, I obviously still bring it up now because that was years and years ago. It's so funny.
Limp wrist aside. We're back. I'm gonna go back into Teyvat for a second. I'm imagining all the little versions of us sitting at the bar in Angel Share right now, not over the ledge. But we go out to the desert, and I want to give a little backstory on some things happening in the desert, just as quick refreshers for everyone listening. We're going to hear a lot about the Eremites, and a quick refresher, they are mercenary group. They do trade, they conduct business across Sumeru and sometimes across the rest of Teyvat. They're the only like legal mercenary group allowed, and there's a lot of factions of them. And they also believe in Deshret, and they come from what they call like the Red Sands, which is like the Deshret times of the desert. So they believe that they're descendants of like King Deshret's people. Not necessarily King Deshret. They're not all demigods, but they were people who were under him when he ruled. On top of that, we're going to be talking a lot about the Tanit tribe, and that is one of the Eremite tribes. They're a little more nomadic, and they have a spot over near the vortex in the desert, the tornado, so to speak. Babel's in charge. She's head bitch. They're a matriarchal society, which is fun. And they have their matriarch and 9 elders. They don't trust the Akasha. And they have a lot of like small settlements throughout the desert. And they're known for like crocodile products and wee nut spices. I don't want to know what that is.
I was gonna say, why is the wee nut spicy?
They got to make use of everything out in the desert, you know?
Yeah, apparently the Weena has like flakes or something. I don't know.
Oh
Yeah, the
no.
scales make chili flakes. I wonder if Cynos tried it. And also, as just something kind of random about the Tannets, Tannet is also actually the name of a goddess from like a ancient North African civilization that was like founded by the Phoenicians, and it's supposed to be very similar to like a goddess of war. And I thought that was interesting, just in
Yeah.
general, knowing what we're going to get into here as well. There's one other Aramite group that we meet in this quest. And remember, there's a lot of Aramite groups, and that is the Thutmose. Could be pronouncing that wrong, but it's Thutmose. And they're also Aramites who believe in Deshret, but they're more about like researching it and figuring out the truth. And they actually like hire a lot of researchers and academia people to go out and look into it for them. And we will learn a little bit more about them as well.
Another Amorite group, though, that we have talked about in the past in Dea's episode is the Deshret Relics.
Which just sounds like a rock band.
Yeah. But like Dea is also an Amorite, and that's how we meet her. She's a mercenary. But yeah, and I think there was 2 other groups that we meet during that one too. So they're all over the place. And then there is a little bit of a hierarchy when it comes to it, but mainly it's some of them are just bad. Like they kind of, like most things, there's a level also of good and bad. You know, some of them, like the Deshret Relics are, I think those are the ones that are really rough.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of like internalized fighting amongst the Aramite groups. Like they don't all agree on everything. They all have their different beliefs of how things should be done. And there's thought that like the smaller groups want to overturn some of the larger groups, and it's not cohesive out there. They don't all, just because they all believe in Deshret does not mean they all have the same opinions on everything else and how things should be done. So, you know, if you run into different Aramites, like you could be getting different situations. You can't just like be like, oh, an Aramite group, I'm going to go talk to them, because it might not go well for you, even though it went well yesterday. But we're going to talk a little bit about them, and we're going to meet some characters. We're going to deal with Jeht and her father, Jabriel. Is Jabriel?
You know, it's not
Jabriel.
voice, so who knows?
Yeah.
Jabriel.
In my head, I say Jabriel, but I don't know.
Dad.
I think
Dad.
I say Jebriel.
Jabriel
is the way I would have said it. I also read it most of the time as Jezebel because it makes it even funnier.
And we're also going to meet some other interesting characters, Samael, Tirzad, and Ben. So before we meet all of them, though, we do start off this quest in one of 2 ways. You can actually do it in 2 different ways, which I think is fun. I think when Sumeru came out, that was really the start of them being like, we're going to give you multiple options for certain things. So you either have the option to start this quest by talking to Catherine, or you could start the Golden Slumber quest by talking to a merchant from Mondstadt in Aru Village. Either way, you got to talk to the Mondstadt merchant Bonifaz, who is very far from home. And despite being from Mondstadt, his livelihood is made by renting out sumpter beasts for money. I guess it makes sense because there's no horses in Mondstadt, so he had to find something that he could ride and, like, you know, rent out. I would have gone with a bicycle personally, but sumpter beasts are fine.
That's the way of the desert. You use your sumpter beasts.
What was he rented out in Mondstadt?
Nothing, apparently, because there's no
Kaya?
horses. Kaya! Oh my god. Who wants to ride Kaya tonight, guys?
We know who he wants to ride in Mondstadt, and that's Cyrus. Because he did name one of his sumpter beasts after Cyrus, the branch master of the Adventurers Guild in Mondstadt.
I just love that there's 3 Cyruses in the game. The branch manager of the Adventurers Guild in Mondstadt, Cyno's dad, and the Sumpter Beast.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have no double names anywhere, but Cyrus, 3.
And Bonifaz, or as I like to call him, Bonifaz, who is like, I guess, renting out his sumpter beasts. Does it strike you as like, this is sort of his like, this is how I'm going to make money. I'm going to like rent out these sumpter beasts and like use my know-how to like, you know, make some money and then move on to whatever. Like it seems weird. It's like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a weird pyramid scheme. Like I didn't ask for Avon to like be in the desert.
this Noctigal person is like his partner, associate, like helper, question mark. And Noctigal is also from Mondstadt. They kind of make it seem like Boniface is like a little bit of an airhead, and Noctigal is like the more like head on his shoulders one.
Yeah.
Because Boniface is like, let's take the Sumpter Beast back to Mondstadt. And Noctigal's like, I don't think that's going to work.
He's like, then the horses will show up.
Like, we need to use them to make money here. But I just want to know their backstory. Like, did they get like kicked out of the Mondstadt branch of the Adventurers Guild for doing something? Like, what is their deal?
Yeah.
I literally was calling them scammer number 1 and scammer number 2 in my notes.
Yeah.
Like, because they really, and like they eventually they get called out for it, right?
Yeah. Jeht's like, they have completely taken advantage of you and pay like overcharging you for these Sumpter Beasts.
Yeah, they're out there ripping people off with their Sumpter Beast prices.
I feel like that's why there's no horses in Mondstadt. They did something to them. And like they really almost brought the Sumpter Beasts back after like killing off all the horses.
They sold them all to Snezhnaya.
Damn it.
But then they found out that it was like fake Mora or something. It's like counterfeit Mora.
It was chocolate. It was just chocolate coins.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. But so we find out that Boniface is not doing well right now because he rented out 2 of his scam beasts out to someone named Terzad. He's a academia researcher from Vahumana. And he also sent Noctigal with him, which is scammer number 2, his assistant, his lover, his brother. I don't know. It's a lot of opportunities there. And apparently they were communicating via Duskbird, aka via Pigeon. And communication stopped coming through a few days ago, and he's really worried. And at first I was like, oh, he's worried about his friend. And I was like, no, he's worried about his money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, bro.
Well, I think he was most worried about Cyrus, to be honest.
Oh, about the Sumpter Beast.
I think he says something like, I'm sure Noctigal will be fine, but poor Cyrus. He could be in trouble. Like, he's in love with Cyrus.
I wonder if there's like a weird like love triangle going on.
Between him, the Sumpter Beast, and the real Cyrus?
No, between him, the real Cyrus, and Noctigal.
Chip is like, so it's Boniface, Cyrus, and Cyrus?
Yeah.
Just throw in the third Cyrus while you're at it.
Boniface, Cyrus, and Noctigal.
Yeah, I think there might be like a weird little thing going on there.
Maybe.
But I digress.
I mean, Noctigal did go on this expedition with them to keep an eye on the Sumpter Beasts, so...
He probably wanted to let Cyrus run free.
Maybe he's jealous.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta get rid of the competition.
He's trying to scam the scammer. But of course, we hear all this dismay in Boniface's voice, and the good-hearted people we are, we decide to go look for them. And when we do find them, we find them in like a sinkhole that like it dropped them into a ruin. And we're like, great, sinkholes, joy, totally on my to-do list for the week. And when we hop on in there, we also meet Jabrielle and Jeht. And they kind of made me feel like if Lloyd and like Anya in Spy X Family were like adults, like, you know, if Anya was an adult, like she'd also be a spy with Lloyd, and they'd be like working together. That's just me. And they're both mercenaries, and they are a father-daughter duo here. And immediately Jeht is into us. Obviously, we're charmers.
Especially if you're Lumine.
Yeah, then it's like times 10. But her dad is kind of like, whatever. Outlander's gross. And because Jeht likes us, he decides like, all right, I'll let my daughter have her little crush, and I'll be nice. And I'll play nice, and it's fine.
Yeah. Meanwhile, chaos has ensued because after the sinkhole sinks, Noctigal has a heat stroke. Terzad finds out from Jeht that Boniface and Noctigal ripped him off and gets so upset that he decides to get wasted. Which I'm like, how is that going to help?
Yeah, like, and where'd you get alcohol from? You went on a desert expedition for research and you brought enough alcohol to get wasted?
I mean, the Sumpter Beast is pretty big.
Is Noctigal and Bonifa's like, are they like moonshiner?
Oh my God.
Are they
We'll just add-
transferring
yeah.
booze illegally to other
Yes.
nations or something? Like
They're just true scammer number 1, scammer number 2.
booze traffickers. Oh my God.
What if they owned a speakeasy
Oh, they probably
Like,
do now
in Deshret's
in
mausoleum?
Aru Village.
Yeah.
Oh, that works too.
But yeah, so Terzad is like completely wasted. Noctigal is like having a heat stroke. There's these two like completely useless people, Mersad and Omid, who are just kind of there. And then you have Jebriel, who's like just standing all pissed off and stone faced. And then you have Jeht, the helpful one.
Can we talk about the two of them for a minute?
Jebriel and Jeht.
Yeah, first off, they have the same hair color. So cute. Father-daughter, love it. But that dad, he's beefy. Like,
Remember
oh my
when
God.
people
Mhm.
first saw him and were like posting pictures of him?
Just like thirst traps everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
People were like, he can be my Danny.
Oh.
Not
his-
mine. I
His
didn't say that.
arm is like the size of Traveler's torso.
Yeah, like minimally. Like, it's insanity. It really is.
Like, I think he's on steroids, you guys.
And then Jeht is like super adorable. And she's wearing the same shorts as Sino, basically. I just want Tiff to know that.
And she doesn't look stupid in them.
Not yet.
She's also not the Grand Mahamatra.
No, but she's pretty damn important.
Yeah. But I mean, the Grand Mahamatra, that deserves pants.
Also, this is like the first time we've seen character designs with like amazing scars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The desert people are worked around a bit.
Yeah, Jabriel has quite a few and he has some bandages and everything. And then Jeht has like a really harsh one on her abdomen. I thought that was pretty badass too. Like when I first met the two of them, I was like, I'm scared.
Jeht becomes endearing pretty quickly.
Hmm.
You know, her personality. She's very inquisitive and curious, but she's also like no nonsense and sassy when people are pulling some dumb shit.
Hmm. Definitely. And she does that here.
Yes. She's basically sassing Terzad. And, you know, after we have entered the sinkhole and get to know everyone, and we find out like what's going on, that, you know, Terzad hired all these people and now he's like freaking out because he thinks they're trapped. And he's like, I should have stayed home.
I'm being scammed and I'm trapped and I'm broke and they stole my booze.
He keeps saying like, I'm an indoorsology researcher, which just means that he belongs indoors.
Same.
It's like, I don't belong out here. And it's like, well, here you are. We agree to go along with them into the nearby ruin to find a way out of the sinkhole.
We be researching.
It's awfully
Yeah.
convenient.
Yes, very convenient.
Oh, we're looking for ruins. Oh, we're trapped
There's one
by
right
one.
there. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, let's just all panic until someone else shows up.
Yeah, and not just walk into the fucking ruin.
Yeah.
I mean, researchers are going to do what they're going to do, guys.
You know, it'd be really funny though, is if like they waited down there for days, because we know it's been like at least 3 days that they've been out of touch. So, like, imagine in like an alternate universe, they open up the door to the ruin and there's just like a big exit sign, like, go this way.
Damn it.
Travelers like dumbasses.
So Terzad is like, don't leave me here. And then like goes into the ruin with them because they're like, well, we're going.
Yeah.
He says that he's researching the ruins because of this scarlet sand slate that he has, which is a gadget that we end up with. And he says that he inherited this from his relative who abandoned her research to elope with some wild man out in the desert.
La himbo, basically. It's like suggested.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
wonder who
ooh,
that could be.
who could that be? And so they continue exploring, and Jeht ends up finding a primal construct, which she decides will be named Ben Ben, one of the best characters of the game.
Yeah.
And then the triangle.
The triangle.
That's what I kept calling him.
And he's also in the white art, just to
Oh, in the white
Bring that
day
back.
art. Yeah.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got a little
yeah.
wreath on. It's
He's
so
like her
cute.
little pet. And when are we getting Ben Ben and what is Carcata?
Carcata, my
yeah.
love.
Yeah, when are we getting Ben Ben and Carcata together?
When it's no longer illegal to research robots.
One fun thing about Ben, by the way, is in an ancient Egyptian creation myth, Ben was the mound that rose from the primordial watery abyss, which in ancient Egyptian mythology is called Nu, N-U. And that is where this creator deity, Atum or Atum, A-T-U-M, settled. And the Ben stone is what is the top stone of a pyramid. It can also be called a Ben stone.
Oh, that's really cute. He's the top of a pyramid.
Yeah, and also it's like where like the mound of earth that rose up from a primordial sea where a creator deity settled and like made their home. So
okay, God of life.
just a lot of fun little usage of other mythology that they've incorporated, I think.
That's really interesting because I like when she first said Ben, I was just like, Ben, like what? One, did you ask him? Because he might be able to tell you his name. But it was like Ben. I'm like, is it like Bam Bam? Like we in the Flintstones?
And also just to take one step back to that Scarlet Sand Slate, which love the alliteration there. This item is like, according to Terzad, is something that people have been researching for what seems like years. Like, and he somehow ended up with it. And they think that it's some sort of like Deshret relic, and that it might be able to like power up devices or run something within the ruins. And so it's kind of like the key fob of the Deshret ruins. So you got to kind of have it on you at all times if you want to go places, according to the research.
Which is exactly how we use it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep your key fob on you or the engine's not going to go.
Yeah, but we need a Ben to follow along with our key fob.
Ben, the car battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, we find that Ben can interact with the Scarlet Sand Slate, which is why once Terzad sees Ben like sort of lighting up the slate, he's kind of like, oh God, this might be dangerous. Why don't you hold on to this, traveler? And so that's how we end up with it. And we're like running around the game with it and unlocking new levels of it and finding new doors to go through with it.
I love that the first thought was, oh, this is dangerous. Give it to that person.
Yeah. Get it away from me.
Oh, this important relic?
This is dangerous to my indoorsology.
Yeah.
So the group finally finds the surface, and then conveniently there's a nearby oasis that they can stay at.
It's an Airbnb.
Yes. And this is where we first start seeing like people kind of opening up as they're like hanging out at night around the oasis. So we're like getting clues about backstory and things like that. And everyone, stays there for the night. And then the next day they go exploring again to a new ruin, which is the Kamenu Temple. And they are delighted to find that Ben can open it.
Which temple was that one that they go into?
Kamenu Temple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Khemenu.
Yeah, that's not how I said that. I said that so different in my head that I didn't even know what you were talking about.
Also, when Ben opens the door, you're like, go, triangle, go! Yes! We're so glad we found you.
So in the temple, while Terzad and Jebriel are arguing about King Deshret, which is interesting. And I guess we should add, this whole time Terzad is just becomes more and more annoying. Like, never gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Just the most irritating person alive. And, is from the Vahumana Darshan and the academia, and is very like uppity, snobby academia member, and is like, we in the academia, we basically think that King Deshret, is just a self-destructive tyrant. And Jebriel goes off on him. Like, don't you talk about King Deshret like that?
Yeah. Did you talk about my daddy?
I'm an Aramite. How dare you?
He's like, fuck off with your academia propaganda. I don't need that here. This is Jesus.
Exactly.
Leave me alone.
It's like classic academia versus desert storyline. And so they're arguing about it. And while they're arguing, Terzad accidentally finds a secret entrance to the mausoleum of King Deshret.
Which, like, of course he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course there's a secret tunnel just like right there in the fucking mural. Like, isn't all murals like that?
He was like backing away like, I'm going to keep saying this shit, but that guy's big. Let me just keep moving it.
They get to the highest chamber of the mausoleum of King Deshret. But then unfortunately, it's revealed to be a trap. Tiff, your favorite.
There goes Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. It's a Star Wars reference for anybody who doesn't know.
Don't explain it. They should just know. I'm sorry.
So we basically get attacked by Eremites, who are led by this particular Eremite named Samael, who we'll get into more in a minute. And these Eremites, we find out, are working with the Fatui. And they kidnap Ben, who we quickly rescue. And we chase them off because Traveler's there. And they're no match for Traveler, obviously. And so, we return to the Oasis and we start talking more. And, during the whole shuffle, Jebriel reveals that Samael killed his wife, who is Jet's mother, while she was researching Deshret with the Slate and Ben. So the full backstory is...
Are you going to make me cry?
Yes. No, not at all. So Jebriel was originally part of the Tanit tribe that Feeny described earlier in the episode. And Jebriel was sent on an expedition by Baby Bell to explore the ruins of Gurabad along with a teammate, Samael. And so Baby Bell, who we know is the fierce leader of the Tanit tribe, she secretly wants to kill all adherents of King Deshret. Any big King Deshret fan, she wants him dead.
She's like, this is a matriarchal group. Fuck that man.
They don't go into detail about it yet, but we find out later the reason why, because she's obsessed with the goddess of flowers and wants to be her biggest fan ever.
Get in line behind Nilu.
Yeah, she's like, It's not about Deshret, it's about Nabu Malikata. So all of you, Deshret fans should die because she's
my God, should die.
She's also a psychopath.
Yeah. Well, it's his fault she's dead.
Oh, you mean it's King Deshret's fault?
Yeah, it's King Deshret's fault that Nabu's dead.
Yeah.
Me and Brandon were like, what? What do you know?
So Baby Bell, she's sending Jebriel and Samael out on this, expedition in the ruins of Gurabad, but she secretly wants them dead. So she sends this other person with them named Tarafa and orders Tarafa to assassinate them once they're out there. But Tarafa ain't no match for our sweet baby Jebriel, because Jebriel is like, oh, I'm gonna pretend that I'm dead, but then surprise, I'm not. Jebriel kills Tarafa, and he and Samael are the only two survivors of this expedition. And so they promptly leave the tribe. Of course, Baby Bell labels them as traitors because she's a bitch. And Jebriel and Samael are like, peace out, we're gone. Bye, Tanit tribe. And so they later end up as members, and I was sure if they're founders or just members, but they later end up in the other Eremite group that Feeny was talking about, the Thutmose tribe. And that tribe is very much dedicated to King Deshret. So they're like, oh, you didn't want us to be King Deshret fans? Well, guess what? Now we're the presidents of the fucking fan club. So Jebriel and Samael, as leaders of the fan club, one of the things that the Thutmose group does is they hire researchers from the outside to help come in to ruins and things like that and help do research and discover Deshret secrets. And so one of these people, these outside researchers that came in, was named Euphira. And Euphira and Jebriel are like, hey, and fall in love. They get married and they pop out a kid.
Oh my God.
Named Jeht. And they're like, oh my God, it's our sweet little baby lesbian. And then Jebriel starts thinking now that I have a sweet baby lesbian, I don't know if I should actually be endangering my life, trying to go into all these ancient ruins and triggering all these weird mechanical things that are trying to kill me. Maybe I should be a responsible dad.
I was gonna say, how responsible of him.
Yeah.
The real life could never.
Well, but also it's kind of like with Dea that her adopted father was just like, oh, the baby can't be a part of this. Let's move her into something good.
Does fatherhood really do that to you? You're just like, oh, this baby needs to be well off. I don't know, man. I think I've heard some stories about a milkman and Timmy and I don't know.
It varies widely.
In Teyvat, this is not
common.
Yeah.
We love the deadbeat dads. They give us spice.
Spice. They give us.
They give us wee nut spice.
Yeah, I don't have that spice, but for all you out there with that
I'm like,
spice.
are we in Dune? What's happening?
I mean, it feels like we're in Dune.
I mean, the Weena and Spice, yeah, it makes sense, right?
It's so funny because like you're like, oh, the wee nut in Dune, and I'm like, the wee nut is Tremors.
Yes.
That's all I could think of is Tremors.
And all I keep thinking is the Weena is just in love with the rune serpent and just on
What?
opposite sides of
Tip.
Teyvat.
Is that
I
a
have this-
fanfic?
Forbidden
I
love.
have this whole fucking story about that the wee nut, because there's baby wee nuts. So we know that the wee nut is at least the procreating version of that. But we're like, how'd the wee nut get knocked up? The rune serpent over in
The robot.
Oh my God.
In
We
the
finally
chasm.
found a new ship that Tiff approves of.
Yes.
I know.
The
Tim, are you
rune
writing
serpent
this?
and the wee nut.
Tiff took one look at that rune serpent and was like, I see it. I ship
I was
this.
waiting
I ship
ever
this.
since the chasm. I was waiting for.
We were waiting for a love for them. Oh my God. Check out Tip on AO3.
We not love.
What's their power couple day? The wee nut, the ruin
The rune
nut?
A ruin nut.
Runa.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of nut, Jabriel and Euphira pop out little baby lesbian Jeht.
Nice.
And then
nice.
Jabriel's like, I gotta get out of this. And who finds out but his partner, Sumeru. And he's like, you can't quit the biz, bro.
It's also a love triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, listen, there is only room for one love in your life besides me, and that is King Deshret. And so Sumeru kills Euphira.
Jet's mom.
And it's incredibly stupid because he thinks that killing Euphira will convince Jabriel to stay with the Eremites, the Thutmose tribe. And it's like, how stupid can you
Like,
be?
that is the dumbest plan.
He literally just like Homer Simpsons into the bush. He's like, goodbye.
Yeah. So Sumeru, not the brightest crayon in the box.
Mm.
And so Jabriel takes Jeht and of course escapes. So just like, I'm out of here. I'm sure he wants revenge, but didn't have the opportunity, but he did have to take Jeht and get the hell out of the desert. So you fast forward to current times in the game. And what do we have? We have Jeht and Jabriel, needing money, getting hired to go back out into the desert. We have Jeht discovering Ben, who activates the slate. And then we find out from Terzad that he inherited the slate from his relative. And then we find out from Jabriel that Euphira was out working in the desert with Ben and the slate. So this means that Terzad is Euphira's relative, and he remembers Euphira from when he was a little kid eloping with some man out in the desert. So this means that Terzad is also related to Jeht, which is wild because they just happen to like cross paths by coincidence. And he's also awful, and Jeht is so cool. So it sucks that they can't be like happy family members together.
Yeah, it does.
You think Jabriel, though, was standing there being like, fuck.
Yes, absolutely. He's like, God, you're related to my late wife?
This
How did,
ain't
like,
gonna
what?
work out.
What genes did you get?
Yeah.
So that's sort of where we're at. Like, and again, we're at the Oasis after being attacked by Sumeru and running him off.
This is our second Oasis, right?
Yeah, our second stay at the Oasis.
Yeah, and we're at a Verbo now.
Yeah.
We finally get Jabriel to sort of open up and explain all that. And then the next day, it's time for us to go to Kaj-Nasut.
Which is my favorite name of a pyramid temple in all of Sumeru.
Yeah.
It's like, gosh, I don't know. It's like the Mali Nabukado. There's certain words that just, I don't know, they tickle me. Kaj-Nasut is one of them.
Okay. You just like it phonetically?
Yeah, I like said it out loud all the time, every time when I was reading it, because it is for anybody who is following along who hasn't actually played this world quest, it is silent, like the Aranara Odyssey.
Like everything right now.
Yeah, well, that too, but this was intended to be silent. It was not a voiced one, so
Right.
there was a little nappies going on by Tiffany over here.
No, Tiff literally probably fell asleep.
Yeah, because reading makes me sleepy.
Tiff falling asleep during Genshin.
It's not because I'm disinterested.
Is it only when there's too much dialogue?
It's just when I'm
Which
tired
is
of reading.
all the time.
Yeah.
So they go to Kajnasut. They again find the topmost chamber.
The Ben.
Yeah, thanks to Ben.
Sorry, that was a bad joke. No, I was saying like because Ben's the top of
Oh yeah,
whatever.
Ben
It was a
helps
bad
us
joke.
find the Ben stone. Yes. So and then of course who shows up but Sumail? Sumail shows up. He's like, thanks for solving all those puzzles along the way. By the way, I'm taking Jeht hostage. And I'll actually kill her if you make the wrong move because I killed her mom. And Jebriel is like, don't touch my lesbian daughter. And Sumail is like, the reason I came here is because I'm going to enter the Golden Slumber. And so we find out that the Golden Slumber is this, like, I guess a dreamlike paradise, or so he thinks, that is only for those who discover Deshret's knowledge. And Jebriel reveals that there's a prayer to say if you sit on the throne of Deshret, you say this prayer, then you can enter the Golden Slumber. I'm assuming he knows that because of Euphira.
Mm-hmm.
Or because he's just a sneaky little bitch.
But so he gives this over to Sumail in exchange for Jet's life. So Sumail sits on the throne, says the prayer, his soul leaves his body, and goes into the Golden Slumber, which we find out is a collective consciousness.
Something else that people love in Sumeru.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in Sumeru. Alhaitham, Sino dealt with one. Like, why?
It's so weird. And it's sort of like all the consciousnesses sort of bleed together after a certain point.
You know what I think this means?
What?
I think this means that we have to form a collective conscious.
Oh, you don't want part of this conscious, trust me.
What?
You hear the things that come out of my mouth. You really don't want to hear the stuff that's in my head. It's crazy.
No, same though. It'd be so fun. Like just for like a week.
Okay, wait. Who else was in a collective consciousness?
In Farina's, did we go into
Oh,
The Vache stuff?
Not Farina. I'm sorry. I said Farina, but I meant Nahida.
Oh, yeah. Nahida's second story quest has a collective conscious where everything's falling apart.
Yeah. Is it her second or her first? I think it's first.
Those are first. The second one is the chasm thing.
Yeah.
isn't Alhaitham's story quest? Doesn't that involve a sort of collective consciousness?
Yep, him and Sino. He deals with it, and then Sino arrests them. It's the hive mind.
Yeah, the hive mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could say the Oceanids locked in the fountain going, Vache, Vache.
Yes.
That's a collective
absolutely.
conscious.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in the Akasha terminals, really, basically, that's what's happening with the
No wonder Sumeru has so many.
repeats of the dreamlike state.
And then I
The
woke up.
Rumeria, the what was it called in Rumeria, where Remus wanted to like send everyone into like their own reality.
Yeah. The stone people.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that going on in this game. But it makes me wonder if this Golden Slumber, is it actually tied to Deshret? And I think it is, but it makes me wonder, like, did Deshret actually, like, is this what ended up happening to him? Or is this some kind of weird device that was like created but then abandoned by Deshret? But what happens when Sumail goes into the collective consciousness, the Golden Slumber, he sort of overpowers it. And so that gives him power over Deshret's land, which means he can control the landscape and the building that they're in. And so he starts basically destroying the place and while everyone's trapped inside it, and he won't unlock the door to let them out.
Which, what a bitch ass thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like telling Jebriel the whole time, like, this is the collective consciousness. I've learned Deshret's knowledge, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, so is this the forbidden knowledge?
Yeah, the tainted knowledge.
Yeah.
Like some's left over there. Yeah. Sounds like it. It may have like been like a byproduct of his insanity. Because it's like, it is the utmost part of the temple for Deshret. So it's his bedroom, so it's where he was going crazy.
Right.
And that kind of, that shit sticks.
It's just so interesting because, like, is Deshret's soul inside the Golden Slumber as well?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And then if that's true, then how did Apep end up eating him? How did a pep get in there?
Well, maybe it's more of like the physical body versus your conscious, Maybe he had some sort of deal written out.
Maybe Rukkhadevata like carried his corpse
No.
from Cash Nissa over to a pep and was like, here you go.
I think a pep even ate the bones and everything.
Mm-hmm. He feasted. But yeah, maybe like he got yummied up and then his consciousness was still kind of stuck into the golden slumber or was like released back into it.
It's also possible that it's just the forbidden knowledge in there too. I mean, I don't know though. I feel like if there was forbidden knowledge in there, that Rukkhadevata would have done something about it.
It's just one of those weird, vague, dreamy things that Sumeru loves to do.
Yeah.
Which I find infuriating. But anyway, so Sumeru's in the Golden Slumber, controlling everything. He's about to kill everyone, basically. Jabriel realizes the only way to fight against Sumeru is if he also enters the Golden Slumber, knowing that there's no way to come back once you're in it. So he does. He sacrifices himself, goes into the Golden Slumber, almost gets convinced to like allow himself to dissolve into the consciousness, but then fights back against it long enough to open the door so that everyone can escape, and then dissolves into the consciousness.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, Jeb.
Come back with milk.
But he does get to at least like, he gets to ask Jeht to forgive him.
Yeah. Once they make it outside.
He's like, I'm sorry. I needed to do it. Blah.
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 Jeht spins around to us and is like, orphan alert.
She poses. She's like, yes.
She like peeks, like she like pulls down her little eye mask so we can see her eye and winks at us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, she's a little too excited to be an orphan, y'all.
Yeah.
She's like, I saw this coming. I mean, this is Teyvat. So we end up going back to Aru village. Tirzad is so happy. He found out so much information. He like leaves to go write his paper on Deshret. Noctigal and Bonifaz are like, they're like, okay, thank God Cyrus is fine.
No, I'm sorry. Bonifaz is like, thank God Cyrus is fine.
Noctigal
Hammer number 2 is like, ugh.
So they decide they're going to stay in Aru village for a while. I think you can still find them there, can't you?
I believe so, yes.
And then Jeht, of course, she tells us that she's going to go find her dad's original tribe, the Tanit, out in the desert. And so she sets off to do that, and she takes Ben with her.
I remember being like, okay.
I know. I remember being like, thank God this quest series is over, even though it did get really like exciting at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think we would ever see her again, but I was pleased when we did. And we'll cover that, of course, in a separate episode.
But were you really pleased at first? Because sometimes when they like continue a quest, I feel like ever since the Aranara, you're like scarred.
I know.
Like,
I was a little like, I was worried at first. I was glad to see her, but then I was also like, oh God, this is going to take so long.
Mm-hmm.
But it really didn't take that long. And the second one was way more exciting.
And just to go back, when you first walk into Aru village, if you cross the bridge from the Statue of the Seven, on your left is Cyrus. And straight ahead, you can see Bonifaz and Noctigal talking. They'd stand out like sore thumbs. They got Mondstadt clothes on. And then you can also find the other Sumpter Beast, which was Windwheel Aster, and the third one, which is Dandelion, because they're true Mondstadt boys.
Yeah, naming their Sumpter Beast after Cyrus.
And flowers.
Cyrus the Sumpter. He's the real hero in it all.
I do want to say that Jeht, she moved on real fast. She was like, death does not come hard to me. Goodbye.
Yeah, she's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, she's grieving, but she's like, well, time to move on.
Yeah, there's no shock.
We do see her grieve more in her second World Quest series.
Yeah, we get a little more family drama tied into it.
And yeah, more trauma for her as well.
I mean, that you guys think this is Genshin Impact? It's trauma impact.
Mm-hmm.
Her second World Quest series is so dark
Yeah.
and violent. So I'm excited for that episode whenever we eventually get to it.
It's dark and violent. I can't wait.
Can't wait. And we get to catch up with Baby Bell.
Yes, and Ben.
Ben.
But that is for another time.
Yes.
Now, I do want to say that Kirara has been so patient today. She has been so scared.
She's avoiding the window.
Yeah, and I told her the windows are locked, like no one can climb in, but she's a little scarred. So she left the mail with us and left kind of early. But we do have some letters today from travelers. Our first message comes from Freddie, and they said, I was recently listening to the 100th episode, congratulations, and I came up with quite an odd theory. I think that Zhongli could be the second descender. We know that he is said to have descended to Teyvat, which is quite an odd way to phrase it, unless it would be important. Then, when the third descender comes, we know that the previous descenders team up and make a deal. However, you could also refer to this as making a contract. There was also a scrapped voice line where he talks about Celestia linking him again to the heavens. Then came the Archon War, and I was trying to figure out why Zhongli would want to be an Archon. I think the contract he made to fight the third descender, there was still a clause they had to complete by becoming an Archon. And this is why Liyue was the only place to have fighting, and Zhongli had to guarantee his place as an Archon. Perhaps he is doing something for Celestia that we don't know about. I'm still trying to come up with the theory as to why he would give up his Gnosis. Maybe there's something else he knows that we don't. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this theory. I love the podcast, and I wish you guys another 100 amazing episodes.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you, Freddie. I think this is a really fun theory because we also know that Zhongli is like the oldest of the Archons that we know of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like it. The only hole I guess I could poke in it, and there could be ways to explain this, but just food for thought, is we know that gods are of the human realm because of Orobashi lore. So they weren't there before. They're not like made of the raw materials, or if they are, there's something like being added or some reason that they're designated to the human realm as opposed to the lighter elemental realm. So I think that's sort of important to keep in mind. The descenders, I mean, could you be considered maybe like the second descender was somehow turned into a god that could become the Archon? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I think of all the gods, including, the ones that could become Archons, as somehow coming from the primordial one after the human realm was created. And we know that angels are sort of in the same vein because angels are sometimes called gods in the lore. So I love the idea that he could be a descender because of all the stuff that happened when Zhongli was, quote, young, unquote. But how do you explain him being a god under Celestia, under the primordial one? I mean, I guess that would be part of the contract that they're talking about, right?
Right.
Like he
Absolutely.
takes a contract to become a part of the human realm and become a god. Maybe like parts of his powers, his descender powers, were sort of stripped.
Yeah, maybe he had to give up a power when they made the juice scoop.
Wait, why? What
when
juice?
they pulverized the third descender?
Yeah, and they made the Gnosis scoop juice.
Everything is turned into goop.
Yes, everything turns into goop. Yes.
Gwyneth Paltrow is very influential.
Like the other day, I was climbing this mountain in Liyue, and then after I, leapt off of the goop.
Albedo, he's not made of chalk. He's made of goop. I hope not. I'd rather him be made of chalk.
Have you been to the Juice Cathedral in Mondstadt?
Not the goop. The goop. Although, let me tell you guys, the juice in 911 was great. There was a lot of depth in that juice. Juice.
What?
Do you mean plot now? Is it now just a plot as juice?
Well, in the hit TV show 911,
Uh-huh.
juice is being used as a plot point. Yes. Remember when the priest, I thought, like, went up to Eddie and was like, "You're depriving yourself of joy because you chose a water over juice, aka you're
Oh my
depriving
God.
yourself of being gay with your best friend."
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
And did you
Yes,
know that
thank
one of
you.
the upcoming episodes is called "Don't Drink the Water"?
Oh my God.
What?
I do not watch
AKA
this show.
Eddie, just kiss Buck. Just do it. And that's what Zhongli has to do. He just has to kiss the goop juice, and then all of Teyvat will be fixed.
It's kids Carl.
No, Carl, kiss Scoop.
Carl,
Goop juice
aka
kiss.
the third descender. The third
Yeah.
descender is Carl.
No. Stop
So
that.
if Zhongli's the second descender, that would make him the second who came.
In
I could say
theory,
something, but I'm not.
I made that
don't-
joke the very first time we talked about him. Talked about the second who came. And I think about it every time I say it, the second who came.
Anywho, Freddie, thank you for the thought-provoking goop juice question.
Yeah, I like it. I'm into this theory. I like this theory.
Yeah, and it makes sense because he's the oldest too, so no one else would know better than him out of the Archons.
I still feel like Zhongli is going to end up being a dragon, though.
No, he said, F that body. I'm a human now.
I know that it could just be because he threw a dragon down and said, "Oh, look, Rex Lapidus is dead. The dragon's dead." And maybe that's just still in my head, but
Maybe
I don't know.
Zhongli's just like a giant ditto. And so he's just like shape changing all the
Yeah.
time.
it's a
Well, I mean,
shapeshifter.
Archons can do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Nico
And
can.
so can
Ooh, maybe
so
he's
can
a
the
kitsune.
Adepti.
Yeah.
Many magical creatures can
Mhm.
shapeshift in this game, but not me.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thanks, Freddie. Thanks,
Thanks,
Goopy.
Freddie.
Our next message comes from Lilac, and they said, if you didn't know, there was a web event called Song of the Welkin Moon on Hoyolab, and it's all about Nod Cry, and it has 11 major groups, including the Hexen Circle, Fatui, and the Knights of Favonius. Please share your thoughts on this insane lore drop. And just to clarify things for travelers listening, this was an event that happened on Hoyolab a few weeks ago. You can still access it by going to genshin.hoyoverse.com/moon. And you can still access everything and like learn the lore. You just can't get primo gems. And this is talking about a new location that should be coming out. This seems to be an in-between place of Shiznaya and Natlan for us, lore-wise and travel-wise, called Nodcry.
So of course, we do know about the web event and are very excited about it. I know Amanda's excited about the Fae. I'm really excited about the Frost Moon Scions.
Mm-hmm.
Reading their description, and I don't think we have time to read through all of the different 11 groups that this event sort of goes through, but I do recommend people like read up on them. I mean, some of them we know, like the Hexen Circle and the Fatui.
Yeah, the Hexen Circle, Fatui, Adventurers Guild, Treasure Hoarders, and Knights of Favonius, we all know.
Yeah. And then there's all these other interesting ones. So we know like the Frostmoon Scions were from the original Golden Realm, and it's like, what does that mean? Also, this event talks about the three Moon Sisters, which we've discussed multiple times before throughout our over 100 episodes of this podcast, including an early one in season 1 and in our 100th timeline episode. So we've talked about the Moon Sisters. We are starting to see more about the moon, with the Natlan Archon war, when Mawika punches a hole in the sky and we see a shattered moon. And they talk about these three Moon Sisters, this trinity of moon goddesses. So we're definitely going to get way more Moon Sister lore when we get there, which is very exciting because we know that ties heavily into the second who came destruction that occurred far in the past. So I'm hoping it will answer a lot of questions that we have, or at least a few big questions.
Definitely. They've been dropping a lot of lore bits on like Instagram and stuff about this too, like nodding to some of these groups and some of the things going on there. There's actually a really big drop on Wednesday of last week, actually, when we launched our Farina episode. There was a huge lore drop that we won't talk too much about, give people a week or two to like get into it, but they've been talking a lot about the Wild Hunt and the Light Keepers and everything like that on Instagram too, so make sure to check that out if you want to get some additional knowledge out of it.
Yes, aka The Witcher. The Witcher 3.
I will say for me, I'm most excited about the Light Keepers because a lighthouse, guys, Twink Tank 2.0.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's technically 3.0. We already have a 2.0 location. I forget where, but we have one. It's the
I forget
Goth
where.
one.
The Goth Hotel.
Oh, we have one in the Goth
Yeah,
Hotel, right?
I was able to open up the second location. I thought my permit was denied.
Well, I am just gonna go talk to them with Albedo in tow.
Oh, I'm getting cut out.
I feel like you're expanding too fast.
Expanding too fast.
Yeah, you're expanding your business too fast. Too many locations. Too much overhead. I don't know. I don't know business.
I wanted Goth Night at the Goth Hotel.
Well, you gotta remember though, it's not just me. Like I own it, but my manager is Kave. He's in charge, and he comes to me for approval. But for the most part, he makes decisions. I'm sorry, not Kave, Aventurine.
I was
Oh,
gonna
okay. I
say,
was
what
gonna
happened to
say
Adventuring? What
Kave
did he
does
do?
not make the best decisions with
Neither
money.
does Aventurine, but at least he can gamble and make it back.
Yeah, I mean, eventually he can just use his skill and like make it rain.
Yeah, and his sugar daddy ratio comes in every now and then. But other than the Light Keepers, like Brandon said, I'm actually really excited about the Fae, and Tiff had to talk me off a ledge when I was like, Kaya's a Fae. He's a Snowland Fae. And she was like, Amanda, he's Conrian. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, we don't know. They could be
But we
both.
do. Like we already made a big deal about him being Conrian. I was like, that would be crazy to change it all and make him a Fae now too.
Well, we don't know though. The Snowland Fae could be Conrian, but the Fae are people who actually followed the first Cryo Archon, which is the Belisar. And I'm like, ooh, we're getting the original Cryo Archon lore. I mean, we knew that the original Cryo Archon was dead because Zhongli and Venti are the only OG Archons around, but it has me very excited.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed everything that has come out with the whole Song of the Welkin Moon, anything that's been related to that. I really enjoyed seeing more about the Moon Sisters specifically, just because we've talked about them so much. So it's exciting to see more coming out about it.
Mhm.
I'm glad that we're finally going to learn a little bit more about the Hexen Circle. But I get very, I have a little bit of a weird thing too, where I'm like, the Knights of Favonius? I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing over there?
Well, we know Varka's probably there.
Yeah, okay.
That's the assumption.
Sometimes I forget too that is it the Adventurers Guild that's not based here?
Right, it's based in Shiznaya.
Yeah, so like I kept kind of confusing that in my head. So, but I have enjoyed all of it, and I love that site too. I think it's very well done, and it's a lot of fun. So I would suggest definitely looking at it on like a desktop computer because it's really cool.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I have one other fun little theory to share that actually ties back by coincidence to our episode, which I had never read this weapon's description before today, but it's the weapon Moon Piercer.
Whose weapon is that? What is that one?
It is a 4-star forgeable polearm. It's part of the Aranara series of weapons. You need a Midlander polearm billet to make it.
Okay.
So the description of this talks about some interesting stuff involving the moon. It says, let me find the good part. Okay, the tale of the moon goes like this. The story came from a very ancient dream, one that was hidden in a Nilapala lotus. Long before Aruma Hukunda had been born from the pomegranate, which I believe was the very first Aranara, if I'm remembering correctly, and before a great and noble race, probably angels, and your ancestors walked the earth together, there were once 3 sisters. When night came, they would leave the pearl-colored palace to roam the desert, and Nilapala lotuses would bloom at their feet. Does that remind you of anyone?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh, a little Nabu Malikata.
Uh-huh.
Ultimately,
Ultimately, 2 moon wheels shattered into dust and disappeared. The last of the sisters was so overcome with sorrow that she would never leave her palace again. After a long time, the moon debris finally fell to the earth. At that time, the god of vegetation, Rukkhadevata, had already brought the forest to the desert lands. Where the dust of the moon fell, the Nilapala lotuses bloom, and those children who breathe in the dust will have a pearl-like moon in their hearts. This is why there are always children who are confused by the moon and the reason why the Nilapala lotus blossoms every night and why the moon always favors these children, because the three sisters who mirror each other long to be reunited.
Ooh.
Now, there's like a little bit more, but that was like the juicy part. But I think this lends itself to a fun theory that Nabu Malikata, aka the goddess of flowers, is one of the moon sisters.
Mm.
And she could even, if you think about it, like maybe she falling in love with Deshret is what caused the Seelies to be cast out.
That's a great
Oh.
point.
Because he was sort
Yeah.
of like a sun, there's a lot of sun imagery associated with Deshret.
Mhm.
And, you know, like one of the moon sisters allegedly fell in love with a morning, like the morning stars or something.
Yeah.
So something, you know, about the day. Like, so if she's going down, if they were like walking around the desert at night, maybe she met Deshret. Like maybe they were involved before the Archon War
Yeah.
and actually helped cause it.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you think about too the fact that the sun chariot was said to have fallen, right? Like if that was Deshret, and we know that the people of the mountains like fixed up the sun chariot, is it possible that Deshret fell into the desert and that those people ended up being the people to follow him, and he stayed, and Nabu came looking for him too? Like, there's a lot of thoughts there. That's very interesting. I can't believe that's in a 4-star weapon.
I know.
Like, what the fuck?
You can make it yourself.
Literally, you want to know the lore? Go make it.
Yeah.
You can craft it. But thank you, Lilac,
Thank
for the
you.
Thanks,
question.
Lilac.
That being said, that is all that we have for today's episode. If you liked the episode and the topic, you can feel free to email us at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think and to let us know what topics you'd like to see in the future. Just be mindful that Murderous Chalk Boy will be watching.
Murder. What murder?
Murder! All Albedo fans and Kaya. Additionally, travelers, you can feel free to check us out on Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, Diet Pepsi, Diet Fanta, so stuff that keeps us caffeinated throughout the night while we're editing, recording, and helps us pay for some of our subscriptions that make the podcast possible. You can also check out our merch store there, where we sell shirts, sweatshirts, and stickers as well. You can feel free to give us a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts to let other travelers know that we are not murderous here. Travelers can also follow us online, keep up to date with everything going on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. Additionally, we are on Blue Sky and Threads under those same names. Next week, we're going to be swinging through the science as we talk about my favorite Natlan character, Kanich. And a how.
I was gonna say, and a how.
How could you talk about one without the other?
Mm-hmm.
Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you next time.
Bye, key fob nerds.
Yes, beep, beep, beep. I can't find my key fob.
Unlock some shit.